Hey, I'm Lance Phillips. The Blue Jays season has come to a merciful end, which means postseason baseball is on. What do you look forward to, KL?
I'm Kiera Lyons, and it's tough to beat that. I'm a big postseason MLB highlight fan.
How can't you be?
It's my favorite. I love watching baseball
It's like
highlights.
the best time of year.
Yeah.
Well, just the games are incredible. Like, it's an amazing time.
It's impossible not to be romantic about baseball.
That's true. I can't get into hockey until baseball's fully over. Like, I have to wait until one sport is done to transition to the next. Just the way it works for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Kiera Lyons, Lance Phillips with you for Gloves Are Off. Tuesday night sports show. We got a little bit of fun coming your way tonight. Of course, we're going to be talking not so much locally this time around. We've got lots of national subjects, but I don't know about you, but I was glad to see the Blue Jays season end.
Yeah, it was kind of, you knew it was coming, so it's kind of like, okay, finally can just stop worrying about it and move on.
It was a kind of a garbage season. Listen, let's start with a topic that's still pretty fresh, which is national anthems. Played before every major sporting event, for that matter, almost every sporting event in Canada and the U.S., but is it time that we stop doing this and stop playing national anthems before sporting events?
I don't think you can. I think it's become...
No, you definitely can.
I think, but like for me, it was almost a time where you got pumped up. Your warm-up comes to an end. It's kind of that transition time between, okay, warm-up's finished, we have the game. It kind of gets the fans and all the players kind of together doing the same thing before the game starts. And it's like, look at the Oilers.
Doing the same dumb thing, just standing there for an anthem. How do you feel if you're a Swedish athlete in the NHL or a Russian and they're playing the Canadian national anthem before a Jets-Oilers game? Like, it's ridiculous.
It definitely is a little bit ridiculous because the players aren't usually
from the country, ridiculous.
But I think it's more for the fans. You know, if you're in Canada playing a hockey game, then 98% of those fans are Canadian. So it's a way to get them involved. They make feel a little bit more...
Involved in what? A national anthem?
Well, yeah, but it gets you into the game. Like,
no, it doesn't. The game gets you into the game.
You haven't been to an Oilers playoff game when they're singing...
I've been to tons of playoff games.
The Oilers,
that's fine.
though?
The game gets you into the game, not just an anthem.
No, but did you see when Lucic looked around in Edmonton when they played their first playoff game at home? It blew his mind.
That's awesome. Why aren't we doing it through the regular season? Why isn't this happening through the regular season?
Well, it's the same thing as like playoff hockey's different than regular season hockey. It's just got a different type of excitement. But when they were singing it, like they broke sound records. I could hear it from my apartment.
It doesn't matter. It's a pointless thing that we do before sporting events. English Premier League soccer does not play God Save the Queen before their games. You don't hear it. It's ridiculous. And I mean, obviously in America, it's a patriotic thing, right? It has some patriotism to it. It obviously is for the military. It has nothing to do with sports. Just kibosh this. Just end it. It's absolutely insane. The fact that it still happens, just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
All right, McDavid, Crosby. There has been a preseason poll that comes out talking about how McDavid is going to be the #1 player in the NHL. What is the defining characteristic that gives one the edge over the other?
Sidney Crosby is 30 years old. He's still, to some degree, in the prime of his career. He's missed almost 2 seasons of hockey in the prime of his career due to concussions. And what amazes me about Sidney Crosby is how he continues to get better with his age. Like he finds new ways to be better at playing the game of hockey. And that, to me, is the one trait that gives Crosby the edge in this regard. Now, we won't see that from McDavid for years down the road until he gets to be Crosby's age. And we may not see it from him. Yeah. But Crosby continues to reinvent himself as a hockey player despite all the things he's gone through. And that is an incredible thing to be able to do because not every player can do that.
And I think also that comes with experience, right?
For sure.
His first 2 seasons, his first year as a rookie, he had 102 points on a trash fire team.
Right.
The next year he got Malkin. He had 120 points in his second season. So people talk about, how incredible McDavid is, and don't get me wrong, he is. He's unbelievable. Yeah. But people are quick to forget how unbelievable Crosby was when he first came in too. And he doesn't have to prove that he can do those things anymore. Now he's more focused on conserving, right? Being able to make an entire season, make sure that he's available for his team for the playoffs. He's not out there trying to create 2-on-1, doing toe drags when they're up 3-1. He's dumping the puck in, he's changing, he's making sure he's doing veteran things for his team. So experience definitely, to me, gives Crosby the edge, regardless of what the poll says.
But he's going to have experience anyways because he's been in the league for 12
yeah,
years.
But he's just, he's done everything as an individual and that a team can achieve. So he's not out there trying to prove, that all these points and do all of these things that he's done already. He's more about, what do I need to do this shift to make my team better? And he's very good at that. He's figured it out. It's not about him anymore at all. And I don't know if it ever really has been, but just the experience that he's had throughout the league has just given him, he's a veteran. He's the absolute definition of a veteran.
So you think Crosby is the better of the two?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Fascinating. Danny Trevathan of the Chicago Bears suspended 2 games after Thursday's hit on Green Bay's Davante Adams. Launched at him like a missile. Is this suspension enough?
That's such a hard question for me to answer. Like, watching it, made
it's
my
hard to answer?
stomach sick.
Yeah, so that's worth 2 games? That's a 2-game suspension?
I think a fair thing would be you miss as much as the guy misses that you hit.
I think a fair thing for that type of hit is you're gone for the remainder of the year.
Yeah?
I mean, you can't do it. I mean, I understand that they can't levy those types of suspensions, but that 2 games for that type of a hit is an absolute joke. He knocked out Davante Adams. He knocked him out cold. His mouth guard went flying out of his mouth, and there was a definitive intent to injure there. Adams was defenseless. He was being brought down on the play, and he launched at him head first. That can't be allowed. And the fact that you're going to suspend a guy for 2 games for this, it doesn't matter if it's his first offense or his 50th offense, that can't stand. If you really want to get these types of plays out of the game of football or hockey or whatever it is, you can't stand for a 2-game suspension. It's not teaching anyone anything. When
I listened to a bunch of his teammates talk and panels talk about it, they said that he's not the type of guy that goes out to try and injure, never has been, but he's very aggressive. He's a thumper. Yeah, but
he did injure a guy.
Oh yeah, he definitely did
injure him, and he could have killed him. Frankly, he could have killed him.
So, do you think that they need to kick him out immediately? Was that stands for an automatic ejection?
I mean, I think that there's no way that he should be playing in the rest of that game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a substantial penalty that they received, half the distance of the goal, and an automatic first down. But that's like this big in the grand scope of what we're talking about here.
Well,
you can't keep a player in the game after that type of a hit.
And the ruling is egregious hit to the head. So if that's not an egregious hit to the head, then what is? What's going to warrant getting an automatic ejection if that doesn't?
I mean, the ejection aside, that's the least of the concern here. That has got to be more than 2 games. You can't allow players to hit other players like that and create mass. That's how head injuries occur, and that's how players like Mark Savard, who played for the Boston Bruins, aren't able to play in the league anymore.
Yeah. Does Dwayne Wade have enough to fill the void that Kyrie Irving left behind when he left Cleveland?
Nope, he doesn't. I mean, he can score. The guy can score, right? But he's a defensive liability to some extent, and truthfully, I question his effort. Now, he's playing with one of his best friends in LeBron James. Mm-hmm. And that will help to some degree, I believe. But I still don't think he can fill that void that the Kyrie Irving leaves behind. He's not that kind of a player. He's getting older. I don't think he has it in the tank even to do what he did.
I think you also can't underestimate one of the best players in the NBA if this is possibly his last kind of kick at a championship with his best friend.
He's still one of the best players in the NBA?
No, but he has been over a very long period of time.
But he's not anymore.
No, but I'm just saying, to be the best, you have to have a certain mentality that has gotten you there. And I think if you have one last kick at a championship with your best friend, there's probably something in there brewing for the postseason. But I also
I believe there is in every single athlete that plays sports. I mean, if you're not playing sports to get to the postseason or to win, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you playing? So, of course, he's playing for that. But he does not have the ability anymore to do things that Kyrie Irving can do.
No, but I do think that the Cavs are deeper now without Kyrie. They did add other things, and Wade. And if they use Wade to his strengths, put him around a bunch of 3-point shooters, because he's not a very good 3-point shooter, and he, like you said, he's a bit of a defensive liability sometimes, but he is really long, so he does add length, and you can switch screens with most of the players on there because he is long. So when you play teams like Boston and Golden State, who has an average of like 6'6" on the floor, he adds length, which does help. And you put him on the bench with players like Korver and Fry that can take three-pointers, it opens up the paint where he's more successful, right? He's a cutter, he's a driver, a jump shooter. He's not so much a three. So you surround him by three-point shooters and you play to his strengths, and I think he'll
he play to those strengths? Can
Yes.
he play to those strengths as
Yeah.
a player? You think he will contribute in that regard?
He still averaged almost 19 points last season, right? Like he's not
That's a sharp drop off from what
It is.
Kyrie Irving's going to
25, yeah,
gonna
but everything
contribute.
else is pretty similar. He averaged more rebounds. He averaged just as many, well, not just as many assists, but close to as many assists. So he's still a good playmaker, and he is a threat offensively. So he does add that playmaking element that LeBron was kind of talking about last season.
I'm not debating the fact that he's an offensive player. That's
Yeah.
what he is. That's what he always has been. But his defensive liabilities and frankly, his effort that he puts out there on the court are things I'm calling into question.
Yeah.
That
I think
has
his
me a
effort
little
will be all
concerned.
right. I think his effort this year will be all right.
It's not going to be all right. The NBA and Adam Silver recently sent out a memo to players reminding them that they must stand for the national anthem. We're going back to national anthems here. And of course, this begs the question, Kiera, does the NBA even have a right to tell players that they can't peacefully protest?
I mean, when you say do they have the right, yes. It is their league. They can say how they want their league conducted. Am I saying it's correct? No. But it's if they want their league to be, their image to be a certain way, if they don't want something, then they do have the right to tell their players that they don't like it, but they're not forcing players to play in the NBA either. Like, I know that that's a very slippery slope for a debate, but they're doing other things. It's not like they're saying, you can't be a part of this social movement, and they're not impeding it completely. They are saying, we're giving you a voice, but we're going to do it in different ways that doesn't involve kneeling.
They haven't spelled out those different ways.
No, they talked about how they're going to have meetings with mayors in different communities where their teams are. So it's not like they're completely kiboshing the whole movement, but they just don't want the kneeling, which I kind of like, because the kneeling has been turned into something that it wasn't meant to be. It got turned into being disrespectful to the flag.
No. That's not what players turned it into at all.
No,
Trump
did.
That's what guys like Donald Trump have turned it
Exactly.
into. It's never been that type of a movement.
No.
It's never been that, and players still stand by it's not that.
Yeah.
Now it's turned into a Donald Trump versus NFL players, and we're seeing other players in NBA being a part of this, even Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and I agree, but the fact that Donald Trump has flipped it into something that it's not, by finding other avenues to take, so he can't turn it into, it's disrespect to the country and the flag. Find another way that he can't turn it into.
But that's on Trump. That's not on the players who are protesting something totally different. It has nothing to do with that.
But
I mean, even military people are coming out and saying, I don't have a problem with this, and I served the country.
No, I know, but the fact that he continues to turn it into, if you can find a way that he can't turn it into something it's not, find different ways, use your voice, not your knees, then it's a better, I think it might end up being a better avenue for the NBA to protest.
Yeah, if players will take the initiative to go those other ways.
And I think they will, like players like LeBron James and even Draymond Green, they talk about, people know where we stand, we're going to continue to talk about these issues, but we're just going to do it in our own way, in our own fashion. So that I really don't mind that at all. Invictus Games.
Yes.
So it's a little bit disappointing. I didn't know much about it until it kind of was already in the process. What do you think it needs to do to be more relevant in bigger and more markets?
Well, listen, it was broadcasted on TSN. And if you look at the schedule of how these games were broadcasted, the overwhelming broadcast medium that TSN used was TSN Go, which is their mobile app. Okay, so if you want to get this on the same type of platform as the Olympics or the Special Olympics, the Paralympics, pardon me, then you have to broadcast it on mediums other than TSN Go or an app. It has to be broadcasted on national level as it pertains to television. And it didn't get a lot of that. I mean, just scanning through, you can see the odd TSN2 mixed in there, recap shows, TSN2, Invictus Games prime time, so that was at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's at TSN 4 and 5. Like, why isn't this being aired on even TSN's prime channel, TSN 1? I mean, It's not. And I think if you want to, it had a ton of awareness in Toronto. But if you want it to gain more kind of momentum outside of Toronto in places like Alberta and Saskatchewan, it has to be broadcast in a different format.
And I looked at when the games are actually played. So the first year was in March of 2014. Then the next year, or the next games, it was May of 2016. And then this year it was September 2017. So the inconsistency there, I think, poses a problem as well.
That's essentially like this show airing Wednesdays at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the next week it airs Friday at midnight.
Yeah, you have no idea kind of when it's going to be taking place, when it's going to be happening, and then all of a sudden it's September and you're like, oh, I thought that these were in the spring. So if you had it the same amount of distance between when it played, like every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, just keep it consistent and the same time of year, I think a lot more people would be aware.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that you kind of found out about it when it was happening, because I was kind of in the same boat. I knew it was coming, but then all of a sudden, bang, it was on me, and I was like, oh, it's happening now. And it's compelling television. Like it is as compelling television to watch to me as the Olympics are.
I agree.
It's unbelievable.
It was really disappointing, actually, that I didn't get to watch it, because I think I would have really loved watching them compete.
Sure.
I think it's such a great event, and it was disappointing that I never really got an opportunity.
Is it in your winner-loser segment coming up, Invictus Games?
It's not.
No, it's not mine.
It's not. It's tough to put that in the winner or loser category.
Winner-loser is coming up next.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
Winner-loser. Were you loaded with winners, or you loaded with losers today?
I think in this segment, I'll mostly be loaded with winners, because I don't like calling people or teams losers.
That's hilarious.
Like, I'd feel really bad. But
I feel really bad.
I would. If someone put me on their loser column, I'd feel pretty awful.
Well, you have two ways you can approach that if you are the loser.
Yes.
You can approach it from the standpoint like, I'm going to be mad about it. Or you can make a change so that next time you're not on the loser
So you're
list.
on a winner side.
Those are the two ways to approach it.
I know, but calling somebody or a team a loser just hurts my heart a little bit.
It doesn't hurt mine at all, that's for sure.
I know.
All right, well, listen, that being said, I'm loaded with winners. All four of mine are winners today. So listen, I'm going to start with the Lloyd Junior B Bandits, who won their home opener against the Killam Wheat Kings. In dramatic fashion, I might add, Kiera, coming back to win 4-3. Matt Nilsson's captain scored the winner with like a minute left in the game. And that was an exciting game. It was probably one of the most exciting games of hockey I've seen in this city in a long time. And this is going to be a very good Junior B team. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, they finished with 15 wins on the season, or 18, can't recall offhand. But regardless, this is a top 3 or 4 team. And as one of the teams, the only teams to make playoffs in Lloydminster last year for hockey, they're going to be better. They're going to be tougher. They're going to be stronger. They're not going to get pushed around, and they're more talented as well. And
that's awesome, especially with the fact that the Bobcats have had a little bit of a tough start, having some exciting
for
hockey.
Sure. And like I said, as one of the only teams that made the postseason last year, it's a big deal that the Bandits are good again, and they've got great coaching. They've got some really good young players, and their goaltender Danton Brooks was outstanding the other night. Made a game-saving pad save at the very end of the game, and they've got all the keys to be successful.
My winner, well, I have a couple winners, but my first winner is Jaromir Jagr. He is 45 years old and just signed with Calgary. And it's been kind of a comedic thing throughout the whole year about whether he was going to get signed, where he was going to go, and he finally did it. So now he's 56 games away from breaking Gordie Howe's record. That's incredible. And that's so incredible.
Did that just creep up on you? Like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's 56 games away from playing the most games ever.
Which is what, like 1,700 games?
1,767 games
like, is what. That is just insane.
It's nuts.
It's absolutely insane. So I think that is really exciting. He's also, second in points to Gretzky. I don't think he's going to be catching Gretzky in his
I think we have a tweet coming up about that.
About 1,000 points. But so he's a winner for me, definitely.
And this is the first Canadian team that he's ever played on,
which
is impressive, really, when you think about his storied career.
And I really think, he's 45. You think he's played on every team, but I think he's going to draw a lot of fans, too.
That's a great point. He is. And the Calgary Flames are going to be a better team they were last year. They're probably a postseason team this year. And this can only help. I mean, what did he have? 16 goals and 46 points last year. Can he do better than that? Well, we'll see. But he is a draw. He's definitely a draw.
I would go to a Calgary game
sure,
just to watch
fans
him.
that aren't going to the game are probably like, I want to see this guy play.
Definitely.
I want to go and I want to see this guy
Especially
play.
Calgary's a young, exciting team, and now you add, an absolute legend onto their
For
roster.
sure.
Like it's going to do nothing but help that.
Guy
one.
is a legend, and might help him get into arena too.
Yeah, you never know.
No, I hope it does. Okay, my winner is Major League Baseball fans. Now that the Major League Baseball season is over, the postseason starts, and Major League Baseball postseason is incredible, and it has been incredible for years. And I don't know how much you enjoy watching. I mean, we just talked about it off the top of the show. It's unbelievable, the stuff that goes on. And maybe the best part is that when the Yankees and the Twins get started on Thursday, that we may see, if the Twins win and go into the American League Divisional Series, we may see Bartolo Colon actually pitch again.
I would love that.
The human potato out there on the mound.
I think he is one of the most entertaining players I've watched in the MLB for sure.
Sports needs more of those guys for sure, don't they?
Well, I mean, it depends on where you want the league to kind of go, but I think sometimes the MLB takes a rap for being out of shape and not that athletic, but I mean, he's 40, 42, 43?
44.
44?
Bartolo Colon.
Like,
I love
he'd be a draw for me too.
I
just
love
like
porky
Yager.
out of shape guys that pitch in Major League Baseball. Sorry, I do. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. It's incredible.
I have another winner, Brooke Henderson, a Canadian.
Big time.
Just coming off a win from the New Zealand Open, and she won by 5 strokes. A 5-stroke victory for Canadian.
She's getting better and better and better all the time.
Yeah, and she said it was a really exciting experience because it's the first time she's won outside of North America. So that's pretty cool too. A little bit more of an international stage. And
and she doesn't probably get the attention she really deserves from Canadian sports fans, considering what she's done at her age. It's really incredible.
Because golf isn't a huge Canadian sport. There's not that much focus on it.
Well, because there aren't that many Canadian competitors in it. That's why.
Exactly. So hopefully she continues to get better and she gets a little bit more exposure and she can help grow the game of golf.
I mean, do you remember how big golf was when Mike Weir won the Masters?
Huge.
And even when Laurie Kane back in the day was winning golf tournaments, I mean, it was big then too, and then it drops off, of course, because there really isn't anyone kind of leading the charge here. Now Brooke Henderson is.
Well, even a little Graham Dillette, he had a little bit of a run there for a while, and he would come to Saskatoon for visits, and he was a big deal out there.
Plus, he was toting a pretty solid beard.
Yeah.
And that helps, right? That helps.
He looked like a lumberjack, which is great for the Canadian image.
Absolutely disgusting, that's for sure. I got another winner here. Of course, I'm going away from Saskatchewan, Alberta here, and it's Toronto FC fans. For years, and I mean years, Toronto FC was hot garbage minus the hot. They were terrible. And they just beat the New York Red Bulls this past weekend, 4-2, to win the Supporters' Shield in the MLS. That is a big deal. It's a hugely big deal. They won the Canadian Championship earlier. Now they've got the Supporters' Shield. Now all they need to do is win the MLS Cup. And it's incredible that these fans have rallied with this team for so long. They've been a part of the TFC family for such a lengthy amount of time, and now this team is finally giving them real reasons to cheer. Which
I saw that the Canadian franchises, that they were like the #1 supported or recognized, and
they per capita, because their stadium only holds 25,000 people. That could be one of the most supported franchises in any sport in North America.
Which that caught me really off guard.
It's incredible.
I never would have thought that they would have been #1 on that list. Never in a million years. They wouldn't have even made my list, I don't think.
If you ever want to do yourself a favor, go to Toronto and go watch a TFC game. It's absolutely incredible to be there, just being a part of what goes on. I mean, that South supporter end zone is nuts, and that's putting it lightly. It's insane. Flares going off, smoke, the cheering, the chanting. It's a really incredible game day experience. It's worth going to see. Yeah. Even if you're not a soccer fan, I wouldn't classify myself as a soccer fan. It's a must-do. It's nearly bucket list material.
I'll have to do that then. That's definitely something I'll have to do.
You got another one you can bang out here?
I've got, I hate to say it, but my loser list, I've got the Eskimos.
Oh, they're losing big time.
Oh, they started their season 7 wins in a row, and they've now just lost their 6th in a row, and there are 5 games left in the season. I know that Edmonton gets so up and so down with their sports teams, and they were so high on the first 7 wins, and now it's just they're back in the dumps. And I really hope that they can turn it around for the last 5.
Well, they need to. They're going to miss the CFL postseason,
I know.
which is bad considering less than half the league misses a postseason.
Yeah.
It's bad news.
Oh.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
Albert joins us. He's full of
Tweet.
tweets. Would you like me to start this time?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Tweet.
What do we got here? Oh, this is amazing. Deadspin at Deadspin. We have a majestic mullet sighting. That is spectacular.
I saw that. It is a thing of beauty.
Who has that still? Like
know.
you see mullets to some degree out and about.
Yeah.
But you never see one like that. That one's
No.
incredible. Like the flow at the back, the old mud flap he's got there, gorgeous.
Like, I wonder if that's a
got
self-done haircut
mail.
or one that he went to the barber and, they did it
Speaking
for
of
him.
self-done, do you remember like the Flowbee hair cutting system? Do you remember that? You attach
No.
it to a vacuum and it just, it was called the Flowbee hair cutting system. Yeah, look it up. Amazing stuff. Amazing
Showing
stuff.
your age.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, this one is at Kevin Buffalo. Last play, Tyrod Taylor takes a knee to raise awareness that the Broncos got their ass kicked.
Yeah, that's an amazing tweet.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was, I believe I retweeted that as tweet of the year. It was pretty incredible.
I think I saw that actually.
There's
yeah.
mail.
Andy Staples at Andy Staples. Savage. This is from Troy University, who marched into Louisiana State University and beat them. And Louisiana State isn't anything special. They're 25th. They were 25th. Hey, at LSU, thanks for having us down for the homecoming. We really enjoyed it. Unbelievable.
You got mail.
I like Twitter accounts from teams that kind of get in there and push buttons.
Like Vegas.
Yeah, theirs is all right. Theirs is okay.
This one is at Wyszynski. What a beauty. Hashtag Sharks, hashtag NHL. And it is I don't know if that's a horrifying photo of Brent Burns or a hilarious
It's scary.
one. It is
It's scary is what it is.
Yeah, like he looks like that could be his mugshot.
You know what's incredible is that Brent Burns had the beard going long before Joe Thornton did. And then Joe Thornton caught up, and he's got like that weird streak of silver in it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
He told him that he would have a thicker, bigger beard by the end of playoffs than Brent Burns would, and he blew him out of the water.
Yeah, well, Brent Burns is like really straggly, and it's
gross.
just wiry,
Mail
and
in the
yeah,
back.
it's all over the place.
Because he's a crazy person.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Missing like almost his entire
know.
front row of teeth. So
Duck
revolting.
Dynasty.
All right, Albert, you can have that right there. Tim and Sid at Tim and Sid. Here is at Sporting News CA list of the top Canadian fan bases. Talking about this earlier. TFC is number 1. Don't at us. We're just the messenger. And it's true. So TFC, Saskatchewan Roughriders, Toronto Blue Jays, Montreal Canadiens, and the Toronto Raptors.
Very surprising list to me.
It kind of is to
Yeah.
some degree. I mean, you don't see the Leafs in there, which is fascinating.
No,
That is
the
fascinating.
Oilers either, which I mean that's not as crazy because
that's-
it's a little bit of a
that's-
smaller, but
that's not as crazy.
from being in Edmonton, I would have thought, because I'm incredibly biased, that we would have
Hey,
been on
there's
there.
Yeah,
mail.
well, that's the exact reason,
Yeah.
because you're incredibly biased.
Yeah. How can you not be? At Jeopardy Sports, so the tweet is, the Cavs now have IT, Wade, Love, Rose, Crowder, JR, Green, Corver, and more, and yet fans of this NBA player will still say he doesn't have enough help if he loses.
Who is LeBron James?
Exactly. Who is LeBron James?
You think he's going to whine that he doesn't have enough help?
No, I don't. He can be a little bit whiny, but he's not stupid.
Does he strike you as a whiny type of player?
No, but he does. He's not a whiner, but he does things that.
Is he like the Sidney Crosby of the NBA?
I mean, I don't want to make that comparison but at the same time, he puts up with a lot of crap.
And that's
from
what I'm
a lot
saying.
of
That's what I'm
teams.
saying about Sidney
Yeah.
Crosby. He puts
Yeah.
up with a lot of
He
junk.
does, and then when they lash out at all, people call them whiners. And
Yes.
it's like, okay, well, do you see what happens to
Yeah,
them all
for sure.
game, every game? Like, every once in a while, you gotta let that stuff out. But he does things like he's flopped a couple times where it's unnecessary,
for
and
sure.
then he'll go down the floor and do something crazy and flex, and it's like, okay, well, what is it? Like, yeah, like.
Hey, there's mail.
I don't know. It's a little confusing.
Pick one. Flex, yeah, yeah. Malcolm Gladwell at Gladwell. If the NCAA is so committed to the higher moral principle of working for free, then why does its president make $1.8 million per year? Wow.
That's a tough one to refute.
That will reside here for the remainder of this segment. That is worthwhile. Good for him. Seriously. There's some truth to that.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how, yeah.
There's some truth to that.
Yeah.
What point is enough?
That could be said about a lot, though.
No, it definitely could.
So that's a slippery slope as well.
You like that term?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great term. At Ryan D. Pentima, I'd say it's unfair for people to spit on Rick Pitino's grave, but he's a vampire, so it's not likely he's in it anymore anyways.
You've
I feel like we've got
mail.
a barrage of Rick Pitino tweets coming up
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
There's a few.
The Onion. Do you subscribe to The Onion?
No,
or
but
The
I've
Onion Sports?
definitely read.
Yeah. You
a
need
fair
to
share.
subscribe to The Onion and The Onion Sports. It's incredible. So this is The Onion at The Onion. Louisville janitor scrapes Rick Pitino's name off parking spot at sorority house. Like, it's incredible stuff. You can't make that up.
Hey, there's mail.
Oh, stuck. At Wilson tweeting, college basketball starts today, so I'd just like to remind everyone that Rick Pitino is probably a vampire. He does.
Not related at all.
He does look like
No,
one, though.
that last photo, that second photo on the right is absolutely haunting.
Yeah.
It's haunting.
Like I've watched a couple of, like there's been a few vampire movies, like Dracula movies, and he would be a shoo-in.
Oh.
He'd be a shoo-in.
Jeopardy Sports. At Jeopardy Sports, we have more Jeopardy Sports. This NBA player is now the highest paid Ninja Turtle in NBA history.
Who is Russell Westbrook?
As Russell Westbrook is correct. Where do you think that team is going to fall this year, as far as standings are concerned?
They're going to be good. They're definitely going to be good. It's going to be...
Are they going to get more out of Melo than the Knicks did?
It's going to be tough because Melo is also a high-volume shooter, and Westbrook doesn't really like to give up the ball that
he
often.
doesn't.
That was the problem with KD and Westbrook. It was almost like KD start going off, so then Westbrook's like, "Okay, my turn." Instead of feed the fire, it was like a competition. So it's going to be a management of egos a little bit, I think. So it could be either way. I don't know.
It's amazing to me that the Golden State Warriors have managed to not be a management of egos over there, considering the guys they have on board.
I think most of it is they've kind of grown together. They haven't been pulling, well, besides Durant, obviously, but you know, like the main core of the guys before him, they kind of grew together and became a super team and didn't bring in all-stars like one by one to make a team, and I think that goes a long way.
Interesting.
This one is at Megan Presson. So happy to see females at the LA Kings emergency backup goalie tryouts.
How awesome is that?
That is awesome.
It's incredible.
That is awesome. I remember when the Oilers were in kind of dire need of a goalie, and they actually considered, well, they were talking about Shannon Zabados, the national women's goalie, and I thought that was really cool. And to be fair, like, you give the job to who's best, regardless if they're male or female. But I just think it's really cool that they're getting a little bit of exposure, right? Like
It is. What would be even cooler is if one of them actually made it as the emergency goalie.
I know.
That would be outstanding.
I would pay a lot of money to watch that, I think.
I'd go wherever it happens.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
Over under. Going to discuss numbers in this segment. Lots of different numbers.
Oh, I hate numbers.
You hate numbers? You're not a math
That's
person.
why I'm in TV, so I don't have to do math.
I love math. That's amazing. Red Sox Astros get started this Thursday. I actually said that the Twins and Yankees get started this Thursday, and I should know better because they're playing right now. Red Sox and Astros go this Thursday. And Chris Sale, who had 308 strikeouts this season, will more than likely start game one. If he doesn't, there's something wrong. So my question for you, my over-under, is will Chris Sale will record 12 and a half strikeouts in that game one that he starts?
Oh. I'm going to say under.
Under.
Under. It's yeah, I don't know. That's so tough because it's so hard to predict. But I think, like you said, like postseason is different. They've been able to see him a couple times. There's been a lot of scouting, so it's not like they're going to come into that game unprepared. And
it's hard to be prepared against.
It is.
One of Major League Baseball's best pitchers.
It is. It's almost impossible to be fully prepared because it's unbelievable what he can do with a baseball. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a big game for him, and maybe it might take 1 or 2 games to kind of get a feel for it. I don't know.
And that's the point that I was going to make, is that I think for a playoff game of this magnitude, he's gonna be great, but he's not going to be the Chris Sale that struck out 308 batters. So I have the under as well. I do believe he's going to get probably 9 or 10 strikeouts though. Like the guy's a formidable talent. He's a formidable talent. The Boston Red Sox are in good shape with him in their lineup. One
of my favorite camera views is when they have it right behind the pitcher and you can see how much the ball moves.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And it is just unbelievable what he can do.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Okay, over/under. Oilers open up the
Oilers.
Open up the season. Get used to it.
Yep.
There's probably going to be a lot of it. Open up their season against the Flames, and
which is awesome in itself.
Yes, I love it. I think that's, for Alberta, for Edmonton, for Calgary, that's probably the best season opener you can have. Yeah. And I hope that they meet each other in the playoffs as well, because that would be incredibly exciting. Oilers will beat the Calgary Flames in the opener by 2.5. Over/under.
Under.
Under?
Under. I think that game will be more competitive than people are giving the Flames credit for. You know, I think a lot of people are thinking the Oilers are going to kind of roll over top of Calgary. I'm not sure about that. Flames are going to be a good squad this year.
Yeah, I have over. I have that the Oilers are going to beat them by 3.
By 3.
By 3. I think that might be a little bit wishful thinking.
Yeah, I would think it probably is.
But I looked at some of the preseason things as well, and it was split squad, so it's pretty hard to compare. But yeah, I have a 3-goal lead.
Where do you see Calgary at the end of this season?
Well, playoffs. I don't know. It's really hard to know with young teams. It's hard to know with Edmonton. It's hard to know with Toronto. It's hard to know with Calgary because they're still kind of finding their stride. Right. I think they're playoff teams, but I don't know how far that's going to take them in the postseason because they are young.
There's still some question marks on that Flames roster too. There are still a few. I mean, and they need a good season out of Goodrow. They have to get a good season. If they don't get a good season, then they're in trouble. Okay, the Vancouver Canucks will have 69.5 points at the end of the 2017-2018 season. Bear in mind, last year they had 69. They were last in the Pacific.
I mean, I would hope that they have a better season than they did last year, just as a general Canadian hockey fan. I would say over. Yeah, I would say that they'll have a better season. It's.
I would think the Golden Knights are probably going to be last. I don't actually know that. That's just my best guess.
There's a little sprinkling of teams that could be kind of in there as well.
I have the over on that as well. I do believe that the Canucks are going to be better as far as points are concerned. I don't know if they're a better team or not. I don't know if that's an indication that the Canucks are better or that other teams are worse.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But the Canucks are not going to be great this year. They're not going to be great. Probably going to miss the postseason again.
Yeah, most likely. LeVar Ball will be involved in 1.5 courtside fights this year.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm including fans, refs, and coaches in the slew of people that he could get into.
Now, when you say fights, do you just mean like arguments, like verbal arguments? Are we talking
like an NBA fight?
We're tossing hands here.
Yeah, like have you ever seen an NBA fight where they like pretend to do it and then they kind of do some of these? Yeah, it'll be like that.
Some swatting.
Yeah, like I don't know. Fist fight's probably the wrong way to word that, but altercation. So
I was just gonna say some sort of courtside altercation will occur. Yeah, I'm gonna take the over on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the over on that. 1.5 is a very low bar.
Yeah. And
I think it probably happens half a dozen times over the course of the year.
Oh, God. I hope him and Drake get into it and then they both just get banned.
That'd be amazing, actually. LeVar Ball's a circus, though. Like, the guy is he's a sideshow. He's a circus.
He's like a Trump of the NBA right now. Just say things to be an idiot and to get attention.
Yeah, and the problem with him is he's like Skip Bayless, that he just makes these proclamations, and if they don't happen, he has a scapegoat for why it didn't happen. Like blaming the fact that whoever his son played for.
UCLA?
UCLA, thank you, NCAA. He did play in the NCAA.
Yeah.
UCLA didn't win because he was playing with white guys.
Yeah,
Like,
that's not racist.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable that he would say that kind of thing.
And you know what the craziest thing is that the other day at one of the Lakers games, he had a lineup of people wanting to get their photos with him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, quit feeding into it.
And that's the problem. That's what happens,
ridiculous.
right? Is that
Yeah.
media feeds into it, fans feed into it, and it just makes them
Worse.
do it more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then they feed it more and more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and he could beat MJ in a one-on-one, and I love that Ice Cube beat him in that 3-4 point contest or whatever they had. Like
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
Stupid, but I was glad he lost.
All right. Lakeland men's and women's basketball. Women just played in Calgary at kind of a mini tournament this past weekend. The men played at home against the Edmonton Storm / Edmonton All-Stars. Men won both those games, by the way. Lakeland men's and women's basketball will combine for 33.5 wins this regular season. 24-game season for both teams. Means they need to average 17 wins each, or 17 and a quarter, I guess you could say. 16 and a quarter.
Yeah, I would say they'd be right around there. I'm going to say maybe over.
You're gonna take the over on
I'm
that?
going to take the over. I think like Lakeland had, like the women's team had a little bit of a rough go last year. It was a bit of a rebuilding. They had lost a lot, but they're doing a good job preparing this year. And
Yeah.
and Kinger's been around for a long time. He knows how to have successful programs, and I don't think he's going to have, you know, 2 mediocre or, you know, below average seasons in a row. I just don't see that happening.
The men's team's going to be good.
Yeah.
The men's team has a lot of potential. The women's team is going to struggle early in the season. I've taken the under on this. I don't think that they'll get to 33 wins this season combined. And I believe that what will happen here is we're going to see the women start slow but finish strong.
Yeah.
You know, both of these teams should be playoff teams. They should both be playoff teams. But the men's team looks very strong, and they'll be the ones that that win out of the two teams. They'll be the one that win the most.
They're a little small.
They're definitely
so
small. They're on the
they're
small
going
side,
to
but
live
they're-
and
but they're
die by
athletic.
yes.
They're athletic,
Which is a good thing, especially in the ACAC. If you have some athleticism, that goes a long way. But if you live and die by your 3-point or your jumper, that can cause problems. Because if you're having a night where you're not
In
shooting,
college ball especially.
yes, you're having a night where you're not shooting that well and you don't have size inside to help you rebound, that can be a big issue.
Yeah.
But if they have a good transition game, hopefully they have lockdown defense and then they can just run.
Which is what they're really working on.
So
they're,
yes, which is smart.
Their transition play is something that they've stressed that they want to, they need to shore that up.
Yeah.
And the fact that they are going to push the pace of play this year, that's their goal.
Yeah, if you have an athletic team in that league, you need to take advantage of it and you need to find ways to do that, especially if you're small. So yeah, making sure that they're shooting the ball well so that they're being confident in getting shooters open and good shots and transitioning.
And it was interesting watching them play the Edmonton All-Stars because Edmonton had a big dude that hung out in the post, and they didn't really have an answer for him.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to kind of figure out how they're going to work that, or that could spell some trouble for them this season.
Yeah, and there's some other teams that are pretty big as well. Nate's got some players, Keanu, so
Yeah. Good season ahead for Lakeland basketball.
yeah.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
What's bugging you? We're not doing what's bugging you. We're doing the opposite of what's bugging you. I believe that when Josh and I did this, we talked about calling it what made you smile. And honestly, yeah, I can't stomach it. I can't stomach it.
I can't come up with a different title for it,
Yeah,
but
we
saying what
need one
made me
back.
smile,
Yeah,
I
we
just
can't
feel
do it.
so corny.
So listen, if you have an idea for the title of this, we're basically doing the opposite of what's bugging you. Send it in. You can send it in at Gloves TV, of course, on Twitter or Facebook at the Gloves Nuke app, or reach out to us individually.
Yeah, we're
it's got to
asking for
change.
a friend.
It's got to. Yeah, I'm asking for a friend. Yeah, that's got to change. Listen, do you want me to start it off, or do you want to start it off?
You go right ahead.
All right, I will start it off this week. So I'm going back to the CFL, going back to specifically the Toronto Argonauts. Now, anyone knows that I don't particularly show fandom very often, but I do for the Toronto Argonauts. I've been an Argonaut fan since I was a kid, and what they did this past weekend in Hamilton was pretty exceptional. They finally won a game at Tim Hortons Field on the 9th try, won a football game at Tim Hortons Field and came back. We're down 14 points in the fourth quarter, came back to win 43-35 in overtime. And what we're seeing here is a team that is obviously better than they were last year, but we're seeing a team that's really bought in to what Mark Trestman is trying to do as head coach. And it's thrilling for Argonaut fans to see this kind of thing happen, given there's only roughly 15,000 people at Argos games right now at BMO Field. Hopefully this generates more interest for this team, and we start to see them in the likes of TFC and the Blue Jays, and we start to see them in these ranks of Toronto teams that are getting tons of people out watching their games and having a huge fan base. And that's what made me happy this weekend, was to see that as an Argos fan.
Oh, it's exciting for you.
It is exciting for me. And I'll be at the game on the 14th in Edmonton when I get to see them walk all over the Eskimos again.
You're lucky I'm not a huge CFL Eskimo fan, or the gloves would be coming off. What made me smile this week, anytime I see, exposure in female athletes, I absolutely love it, because I do think they're underexposed and they don't get the attention that they should. And this week, I saw a video of a little girl completely dressed in pink,
That's awesome.
Bright pink, and she was boxing. So she's 9.5 years old, and I loved the video before I learned her name, and her name is actually Kiera. Go figure.
Which is even better.
She is Kiera the Pink Panther Makoganenko, if I'm saying that right, and she's a boxer. So in this video, she's got her little headband that says Kiera on it over her eyes, and she is training with her dad. And she is punching harder than I could ever even dream to punch in my life.
And she's dodging the.
It's crazy. It's such a cool athletic thing for this little girl to be doing. And then I went on the Instagram that her father had posted, because he's her trainer. And there are videos like that throughout his whole page. Like, she has been doing amazing things, and I absolutely love seeing that, especially like the irony of her being completely in pink and like a little sparkly headband,
cool.
and then just kicking ass. I loved it.
No,
it
that was awesome
smile.
stuff. I like to see that kind of thing too, and it's especially great when you get to see young women doing these types of things, right?
Love it.
I would think that would be empowering for women of all ages to see that.
Definitely, and I think it not only empowering, but it shows that you're not a soft little girl. You're not, and I think a lot of people still have that idea that female sports aren't up to standard, or they're you play like a girl, or that
Right.
you're a little bit of a baby, or you're a wimp, and that completely destroys that.
Pretty
I think.
awesome stuff.
Loved
Just
it.
on a side note, real quick, so the champions of the WNBA still have not been invited to the White House, and they won the championship before any other sports franchise.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Trump.
things that need to get fixed.
Trump. See you in 7.